The prison was locked down for 16 hours. Blood was everywhere, on the floor, on the walls, even on the sheets in cell block D. 2 bodies. 1 female, 1 male. And both were supposed to be in love with the same man. But the cameras only caught the aftermath. Not the moment she walked in. Not the moment she saw him. On his knees, in front of the warden. This wasn't just betrayal. It was something far worse. Something that ended in 2 lifeless bodies. And 1 inmate smiling as they took her away. If you think love triangles are messy, try one that happens behind bars where secrets can get you killed, and passion always comes with a price. This is the story of Tamika Raines, a 28-year-old inmate doing time for armed robbery. She was smart, quiet, and dangerous. But more than anything, she was in love. And the man she loved? Derek Malone, a fellow inmate transferred into her facility just 5 months before the murders. But Derek had a secret. A twisted connection with Warden Lisa Trent, the same woman who ran the prison with an iron fist by day and kept Derek warm in her office at night. What happened next would leave 2 people dead, destroy lives, and turn 1 inmate into a cold-blooded killer. Before we dive in, make sure you hit subscribe if you love stories that dig deep into twisted true crime cases like this one. We drop new episodes every day, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. And hey, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Tamika Raines didn't come from much. Born and raised on the east side of Detroit, she grew up fast, the kind of girl who learned how to survive before she ever learned how to dream. Her mother was hooked on pills. Her father? Nobody knew who he was. By 13, Tamika was already bouncing between shelters and the streets. But even in that chaos, she had rules. Loyalty meant everything to her. Respect was everything. And betrayal? That was a death sentence. At 19, she caught her first charge, armed robbery. She took the fall for her cousin, said nothing, did 3 years and came out quiet, hardened, and even more dangerous. The second time, she wasn't protecting anybody. It was a smash and grab gone wrong at a pawn shop. Shots were fired. She didn't pull the trigger, but she didn't run either. The judge gave her 17 years, and she didn't flinch. But inside that prison, behind those fences, Tamika found something she never expected. Love. Not friendship. Not attention. Real love. Or at least, she thought it was. Because when Derek Malone arrived on a transfer from another facility, Tamika felt like her whole world shifted. He was smooth, quiet, the type to look you in the eye and make you feel like he saw your soul. And in a place where most people only take, he made Tamika feel wanted, needed, chosen. She fell hard, fast, and in her mind, Derek was hers. On the surface, Derek Malone was just another inmate. But the guards noticed something strange within his first 2 weeks. He never got written up. His meals, always on time. And somehow he had access to things that other inmates only dreamed of. Extra phone time, clean uniforms, even real cigarettes. Whispers started. He's working with the feds. He's a snitch. But the truth was more twisted than that. Warden Lisa Trent, 42 years old, career corrections officer, divorced, childless, had her eyes on him from day one. Lisa wasn't the type to play favorites. She was strict, by the book, and respected, maybe even feared. But when it came to Derek, something changed. He started working in her private office, organizing files, handling inmate records. It wasn't official. There was no paperwork, no assignment. But every evening around 7 p.m., the cameras in that hallway conveniently glitched. Nobody saw what happened behind that door. But one night, another inmate passing by said she heard noises. Rhythmic, soft at first, then sharper, breathing, a thud. And Lisa's voice, laughing. From that night on, Derek walked different, chin high, shoulders loose. And Tamika noticed. He stopped showing up for meals with her, stopped sending notes, and one night she waited by his cell for hours, but he never came back. That's when her gut told her something was wrong. And when Tamika's gut talks, people usually get hurt. At first, Tamika told herself she was overthinking. Maybe Derek was just adjusting. Maybe the warden had him running errands. But nights passed, and he kept getting more distant. He stopped writing her back, stopped looking her in the eyes, and one morning as she stood in line for breakfast, she saw it with her own eyes. Derek, standing by the staff door, laughing. Warden Trent leaned in, touched his arm, and he didn't pull away. Tamika froze. Something in her chest snapped. Her hands clenched. Her breath got shallow. And for the first time in years, she felt like a fool. Not just betrayed, played. Later that night, she confronted him in the laundry room, the only place without cameras. "You messing with her?" she asked. Derek didn't answer. He just looked away. And that silence, that 1 second of hesitation, that told her everything. She grabbed his shirt, slammed him into the wall. But he didn't fight back. All he said was, "You're doing too much, don't make this harder than it has to be." Then he walked out, like she didn't matter. That night, Tamika didn't sleep. She sat on her bunk, rocking, whispering to herself. He chose her. After everything, he chose her. She stopped eating, started pacing the cell, staring at the wall, talking to people who weren't there, and the guards noticed. But it was too late. Tamika had made up her mind. If she couldn't have Derek, nobody could. The facility where it happened wasn't your average prison. It was a low-security co-ed rehabilitation unit in Indiana, a pilot program designed to help non-violent offenders reintegrate into society. Male and female inmates were housed in separate wings, but during work duties, meals, and therapy sessions weren't they mixed? And that's where Tamika and Derek met. Now, on October 14th, Tamika woke up at 5:42 a.m. She didn't go to breakfast, didn't speak to her bunkmate. Instead, she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at a razor she'd hidden behind a loose tile weeks earlier. At exactly 6:15 a.m., she signed up for library duty, knowing Derek had been reassigned to supply detail in the storage room next door. The hallway cameras were spotty. And Warden Lisa? She had a habit of doing surprise inspections during early shifts, especially when Derek was scheduled. It all lined up. By 7:03 a.m., Tamika had slipped out of the library and into the storage room hallway. That's when she heard it. Muffled voices. A faint laugh. Then silence. She crept closer. And the moment her eyes hit the crack of the door, there he was. On his knees. In front of the warden. Shirt off. Her hand on the back of his neck. And that was it. Tamika snapped the door open. Neither of them had time to react. She didn't scream. She didn't ask questions. She just lunged. The first slash went across Lisa's face. She stumbled back, grabbing her cheek. Derek shouted, "Tamika, no!" But she was already swinging again. The razor tore into his shoulder. Lisa reached for her radio, but Tamika kicked it across the room. What happened over the next 17 seconds was brutal. Blood sprayed the wall. Lisa tried to crawl, but Tamika straddled her, slashing relentlessly. Derek tried to pull her off. She turned on him. 1 stab, 2, then silence. When the guards finally got there, Tamika was sitting cross-legged in the blood, calm, breathing slow, and smiling. The prison went into immediate lockdown. Sirens blared, lights flashed, guards scrambled. The hallway outside the storage room was soaked in red footprints. Tamika didn't resist. She didn't run. When they cuffed her, she didn't say a word, just looked down at Derek's body, then over at Lisa Trent's lifeless hand twitching near the overturned desk. 2 dead, 1 inmate, 1 warden. It was the first double murder in that facility's history. By noon, news vans were parked outside the gates. Helicopters flew overhead. Families of other inmates flooded the phones. Reporters demanded answers. The Department of Corrections launched an internal investigation within hours. How did this happen? Why was a male inmate allowed that much access to a female warden? What kind of relationship were they really having? Inside the prison, rumors spread fast. Some said Tamika had warned the guards days before. Others claimed Lisa and Derek were planning to get Tamika transferred. But nobody really knew. Because Tamika still wasn't talking. Not to the warden's replacement. Not to the investigators. Not even to her lawyer. For 72 hours, she sat in solitary. No food, no sleep. Just whispering to herself in the dark. Some say she was praying. Others say she was talking to Derek. One guard swore he heard her say, "They were never supposed to touch each other, not while I was still breathing." But no official statement ever came from Tamika. Just silence. The kind that haunts you. Tamika was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The trial was held in Marion County Court 6 months after the incident. She walked into the courtroom in shackles, eyes low, posture still. But what sent chills through the room was the smile. That faint, knowing smile she wore as the charges were read out loud. Reporters called it the smile that broke the internet. A photo of her that day went viral. People debated everything, her motives, her mental state, even her appearance. But Tamika didn't flinch. Her lawyer pushed for insanity, claimed emotional trauma, abandonment issues, and betrayal had pushed her to the edge. But Tamika refused to testify. She wouldn't explain why she did it, wouldn't cry, wouldn't apologize. When the prosecutor described the murder in detail, how Lisa was stabbed 13 times, how Derek bled out trying to crawl for help, Tamika just sat there, still, silent, no tears, no outburst. And when the jury came back with the guilty verdict, she nodded, almost like she'd been expecting it all along. The judge sentenced her to 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. As the courtroom cleared out, reporters tried to shout questions. "Why did you do it, Tamika? Was it jealousy? Did he love you back?" But she didn't answer. Just that same small smile. As they let her out in chains, the trial ended, but the world didn't move on. The murder of a prison warden and an inmate, by another inmate, was already unheard of. But the love triangle, the sex scandal, and Tamika's eerie calm, that sent it into a different category. Everyone had a theory. Theory 1, Derek played them both, manipulating Lisa for favors and Tamika for protection. Theory 2, Lisa was planning to expose Tamika and get her transferred, so Derek helped set her up. Theory 3, Tamika didn't snap. It was premeditated. She planned it the moment she felt him slipping. The facility itself came under fire. How was a male inmate working privately with a female warden? How were relationships like this even possible? The program was shut down. The director resigned. But Tamika, she became something else. Not a villain, not a victim, just a mystery. A cold, silent storm no one could fully understand. Even her cellmate said the same thing. You could never read her. And after the murders, she spoke even less. She refused interviews, denied all documentary offers. Not a single apology, not a single explanation, just silence. The kind that eats away at you, the kind that keeps the story alive. Today, Tamika Raines is housed at Rockville Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison for women in Indiana. She spends most of her days in administrative segregation. That means no cellmate, no programs, limited yard time. Guards say she speaks maybe once a week. She keeps a journal. No one knows what's in it. Her mother passed away while she was inside. No one came to visit. No letters, no calls. Just her. Alone. And yet, that faint smile never really left her face. The kind that makes you wonder, was she heartbroken or satisfied? Did she act out of passion? Or was this something darker? After all, the silence has lasted longer than the relationship ever did. Longer than the trial. Longer than the media storm. No memoir. No final words. Just that one moment. In a storage room. That turned love into blood. And left behind a case that still doesn't have answers. Maybe it never will. Some say Tamika was a broken woman, shaped by pain, abandoned by love, pushed to her edge. Others say she knew exactly what she was doing. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was control. Maybe it was revenge. But one thing's clear. That moment in the storage room didn't just end 2 lives. It exposed everything the system tried to hide. Betrayal, power, obsession, and a woman who refused to be ignored. What do you think really happened that day? Was Tamika a victim or a manipulator? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. I read every single one. And if this story kept you hooked, hit that subscribe button because we have more true stories coming. Darker, stranger, and just as real. I'll see you in the next one.